Hi everyone, welcome back to the Lemon Abroad. Today I'm going to be filming another organizing video for you. As you may know, I'm very passionate about this subject and also about finding ways to help other people organize their homes and really organize their lives. One thing that I've learned over the last few years is that the best, simplest, most effective way to reduce clutter is to simply reduce what you are bringing into your home in the first place. It really is as simple as that. But of course, sometimes that's easier said than done. One reason why I wanted to make this video for you today, which is about items that I have too much of, is to show you that even I, as someone who has worked very hard to change my shopping habits, to reduce the amount of things that I am consuming, to be very conscious and intentional with what I purchase, can end up having way too many of certain items. Now, what items we tend to stock up on will vary person to person. Honestly, looking at some of these items, to me, it's really amusing and interesting and makes me question why these items did I end up having way too much of. So what I'm going to do is show you a few of these different categories of items that I have stockpiles basically of, tell you how I ended up with this much stuff, what I'm going to do with it, and how I'm going to prevent this from happening again. Now, while I'm doing this, you might start thinking about your own house and your own life and what things that you also may have too much of. Honestly, when I thought about making this video, it wasn't difficult for me to think of these things. I just looked around my house and it was very obvious to me. I knew the things that I had too much of because I do very much know the things that I have in my house. But again, that didn't stop me from ending up with too much of these in the first place. So I do think it begs some reflection on our part. When we see these categories of items that we have a lot of, ask yourself, what is this telling me about me? What is this telling me about myself? And maybe there's something there to work or reflect on. One thing that can make it quite difficult to know what you actually have in your house is that things are usually spread from room to room. For example, the first thing I'll talk about is that I had a lot of lip balm, but I have a lip balm in my purse and a lip balm next to my bed and a lip balm in this room. But I have different kinds of lip balm. I have one with SPF that I keep in my purse for going outside. I have one that I use at night that I put next to my bed. That to me is reasonable because each lip balm has its own purpose and there are different kinds for different circumstances. But then I knew that I also had a few other lip balms in storage or in my makeup bag. So the first thing to do in this situation, and this is a tenet of Marie Kondo's philosophy, if you're familiar with her, is to make sure that you go through all the different areas of your house and find all of those items that are either the same item or in the same category and bring them together. So that way you can see how much of that one thing you really do have. And that's when you can start to have those realizations and insights that, oh, maybe I actually don't need this much of this one thing. Okay, so let's start with the first item, which I mentioned was lip balm. Honestly, I was pretty happy to see that I only had 7 of them. However, that is still too many. I can be realistic about that. I feel like you do need at least a couple, which I mentioned before. But in this situation, I realized how I ended up with so many of them. And that is because, one, I bought some before I had finished the other ones, which is a common thing for me. I am really trying to work on not only with things, but also, for example, especially with food and in my kitchen, I'm really trying to work on waiting until I actually run out of something, or I'm very close to running out of something before buying a replacement. Because then it's very easy to, like I have all these different lip balms that have been opened, which are losing their shelf life, and I can't use all of them at once. So I do know that that is one reason why I have so many. The second reason is because I found a new brand of lip balm that I absolutely love. They're called Eco Lips. And honestly, you know how hard it is to find that good lip balm that is a relief and a comfort when you have dry lips, but that at the same time, you also don't feel it on. It's not sticky. It's not getting all over your glasses or water bottles. And that is Eco Lips for me. They only have a few ingredients. They're organic, cruelty-free, all the stuff to love them for. They do sell them in stores, but I ended up buying them online. And so of course, I'm not going to buy one lip balm and have it shipped to me. So I think I bought 4 of them, and that's how I ended up with so many. So in a situation like that, it makes sense to stock up, but when you are stocking up on things, you need to make sure that you are actually going to be able, realistically, to use all of these products, because they do have a shelf life, they won't last forever, and if you don't use it, you lose it. So in this case, I do intend on using them. I use them every day, and I will try and finish all the ones I have before going out to purchase anymore. This brings me to my next item, which are disposable face masks. Honestly, I never used to use these at all. And in general, I try and stay away from one-use items like this. For example, for my skincare, I use washcloths or the small reusable face pads instead of using just cotton pads that I'll just throw away to take my makeup off. But at some point, I really fell into the face mask craze. And again, the problem is, how often do I actually use them? If I had a regular self-care day where I used a face mask every week, that would be a different story. And I think that is one of the reasons why I ended up with them, because I had idealized that I would do these like moments of self-care and relaxation. And to be honest, I just never find myself reaching for them. And now I have 20 of them sitting in my house for a long time. Some of them have expiration dates on them, and they are still within the expiration date, so I will try and use them. But I did throw a couple away that I found had expired. I could use one of these every week for the next 5 months. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I pulled out a few of them. I'm going to set them on my desk, and that way I will see them and hopefully be encouraged to use them. But I am absolutely not allowed to buy any more until they are finished. And maybe I just shouldn't buy any more at all. If I do buy any more, it should either be because I'm going to a friend's house and we're going to have a spa day. Usually I would end up buying like 3 or 4 of them at a time because they would be buy 2, get 1 free. But let's be honest, I didn't even need one in the first place. When I found them all together, I kept them in a box of storage where I keep excess skincare and stuff. It almost felt like I was collecting them more than I was buying them to actually use them for their benefit, because they're all different colors. But since I only have one of them, it's almost like I'm collecting all the different varieties, which actually counterintuitively makes me not want to use them, because then if I use it, I don't have it anymore. Let me tell you that that's telling me a lot about myself. And because I bought them, as long as they're not going to do any harm, I should use them. And that's what I'm going to try and do. And I'm going to let this be a lesson for me to really pause and think twice before I purchase something. It can be very difficult, especially when these things are relatively inexpensive. They seem like they're not going to take up that much room, but they really do. Especially with smaller items, you don't notice until you've put them all together just how much space, and I mean physical space, emotional space, financial space, that they're taking up. The next item is another small item that I think can easily creep up on you because they're very easy to purchase, usually relatively inexpensive, and it seems like they're not going to take up that much space. And for me, that is hand lotion. To be fair, I do use hand lotion a lot, especially in the winter. My hands get very dry very quickly, and I really do need to use hand lotion to relieve that. And it's kind of like lip balm in that I like to keep a smaller one in my purse, especially like a travel size one that I could use on the plane. One here, one there. However, now I simply have more than I need. I even found that I had 2 half-finished bottles of the same exact bottle of lotion. So that tells me that I am buying too much, that I am not aware of what I already have. I'm definitely not making sure that I finish what I have before I purchase something else. I mean, I think there are 11 different hand lotions there. It's kind of telling me like scarcity mindset. Like I thought there was going to be like no other opportunities to buy hand lotion, so I had to make sure I bought these ones. I really think that having 2 or 3 hand lotions maximum is more than enough for me. And also, again, I can only use one at a time. So the simple remedy for this is no more hand lotion until I have finished all of these. And from then on, replace as I run out, replace as I go, and do not stockpile. Hand lotion is not a rarity. It is very common. It's very easy to find in all different shapes with different ingredients, with different scents, and there is absolutely no reason why I should stockpile hand lotion. Another kind of small item that I have probably too much for me of at the moment are pens and stationery supplies. Now, looking at what I have, this does actually not seem too bad for me. And of course, this will vary person to person. Just because there's too much of something for me doesn't mean that having even more of this would be too much for you, because you might be someone who loves to draw and is very artistic. And so you like to have a lot of different types of stationery supplies and markers and colored pencils and paints. And those are things that you use frequently and that you get use out of. And they're not just sitting inside your desk drawer going bad. I do love to draw and things like that. But at the moment, I use these pens for my calendar, for my notebooks. I probably don't need 17 different colored markers at this point, especially because what do? I always use the same ones over and over. I'm always using the purple, the blue, the dark pinks. You know, I bought the green, I bought the orange, but I don't reach for them. And again, these supplies don't last forever. They do run out, they do dry up. Again, they're easy to stock up on because I used to go buy these at the bookstore. They're like $1.50 or something. So what's $1.50? But there's $10 that I'm not using in markers. You see what I mean? Actually, it was very serendipitous because when I went to go clean out the pens and markers, one pen had exploded and got ink all over me. And so it's just the perfect example of you have to use the things you have, or else they're just going to go bad and they're probably going to do more harm than good. So what am I going to do about the pens and markers situation? Well, I am not allowed to buy any more until I have run out. So no more pens until the pens are run out. No more markers until the markers have run out. And that means that I will use the colors, even the ones that aren't my favorite, because they're still good and they're still working. Of course, you know, don't take that as a hard and fast rule. If there's something you really don't want to use, then you should feel free getting rid of it. But it's really not going to hurt me to have to use, you know, my orange marker for a little while. But when you are in a decluttering space, feel free to get rid of things, donate them, give them away, see if your friends could use them. Don't feel that you have to use something just because you bought it, because that is very, very counterproductive to actually decluttering, actually learning from your past purchases and being able to implement in the future. If you just hang on to stuff because you feel like you have to, that's very counterproductive. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. But for me, I can use my markers because they work fine and my calendar is temporary, so it's not going to bother me. But for example, if I had purchased a pair of clothing that clearly didn't fit me or I didn't feel comfortable in, I wouldn't tell you you have to wear that just because you bought it. Absolutely not. Get rid of it. Donate it. Give it away. See if someone else can make use of it who will actually like it. And just learn from having bought it that, oh, this thing doesn't work for me anymore. Do a Marie Kondo, say thank you to the item, get rid of it, and you won't buy it again in the future. Okay, sorry for that tangent, but my lesson that I've learned from this in the future, I'm not going to collect different colors of markers. When I run out of all of these and I go to replace them, I'll buy the colors that I actually like to use. 2 or 3, it's enough. The next thing that I have way too much of for my own lifestyle are hats. I found 6 hats just out and about, not even in storage, which I fear there may be more. 3 baseball hats and 3 straw hats. Now, I think hats are very cute, and to be honest, I should be wearing them because I'm quite pale and I should be wearing hats. They can be very important to help manage your sun exposure, along with sunscreen, of course, and staying in the shade. However, I don't wear them enough to justify having 6 of them. That for me has some more reflection because it is something that I know I should be doing. So now that I have them, the answer for me is implement it, like wear your hats. So you can see how different items will tell you different things about yourself, honestly. I know how I ended up with the straw hats because I almost always buy them on vacation. I know that I have bought several more in the past. They're really hard to travel with. I think that's the problem, is that you think you'll want a hat, but then you don't want to pack it because it's so bulky. Then you get there, you end up buying a hat anyway. And I do know this has happened before where I've bought the hat on vacation and I've left the hat on vacation because I don't want to use the space in my suitcase. So with the straw hats, from now on, I'm going to bring them if I'm going somewhere sunny. I'm being dramatic. They're not that hard to pack. You can put clothes inside that part and pack around them and stuff. At least the ones I buy, they're inexpensive. I'm not afraid of ruining them. If I need to pick one up, I will. But I can definitely try and take care of these ones better and make use of them since I have them already. So for now, the resolution is wear them. If I'm going on vacation, bring them. I don't need to buy any more. And the last item that I particularly have too many of are language learning books. Now, these were just the books that I had on my bookshelf because I know that I have several more, if not the same amount, in a storage container that I did not dare open. Just out, I found 8 books for 4 different languages. Now, suffice to say, I cannot use all these books at once. It makes my brain spin just thinking about them and all of the information that's inside them. I feel like some of these were definitely impulse buys. I love learning languages, and these are languages that I'm studying. And I think sometimes I do find a book out, it looks good, and I don't want to forget about it, and I'm afraid I won't see it again, so I buy it. Some of these were not impulse purchases, some of them were very intentional. It definitely seems, though, in this category to be heading towards collecting things over buying things thinking I will actually use them. To be fair, I do have several language books that I have used, that I have gone straight through, that I have finished, and that I've learned a lot from. But with language learning, as with so many other things, if you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't implement it in other ways and incorporate it into your daily life, even if you study that book every single day, it's really not going to make a difference. Having this book alone is not going to help me. I need to make sure that I am engaging with a language in several other different ways, in addition to using the language as a study guide. You have to be either speaking the language, hearing other people speak the language, listening to podcasts, music, watching TV in that language. So to remedy this problem, number 1, I'm not allowed to buy any more for the time being and the foreseeable future, because as you can see, I have several things to work through already. I do not need to be adding to that list. I also took out one of the Italian language books. I know this book has very small exercises. It would be very easy for me to work through this in the next 2 weeks and finish this book, at which point I could see if there's someone else I could give it to who might want to use it. And then I will do that for the other books as well. I've made some videos about language learning here before, and maybe it will be interesting to make a more comprehensive one about how I go through the process of learning multiple languages at once. But one thing that I found that works for me is picking a focused language, for example, to study at one time. However, I do still have exposure to all of the other languages I'm studying, either through listening to other people speak the language, having friends I speak the language with, or, for example, watching TV, listening to music, podcasts, those types of things. However, I've realized that if I have multiple workbooks or multiple courses going at once, it then becomes too overwhelming and I can't actually learn anything. So for me, picking one focus language, either let me work through this book and finish it, let me work through this course and finish it, I will make significant progress in learning that language and make sure that I still keep all the other ones in orbit around me. And then when I move on to the next focus language, I don't necessarily lose what I've learned from the previous focus language because I keep it circulating around me. So that is my plan to try and make my way through the resources that I already have. And honestly, that will probably take me quite a while. So I don't see myself needing to purchase any other language resources for a very long time. All right, so those are the 6 different kinds of items that I personally had too much of for my lifestyle. Again, you might have even more of the same item that I have, but for you, it's something that you use and love and enjoy. I'm very curious to know if any of you have thought of or have found in your own house things that you personally have too much of for your unique lifestyle. I would be very curious. I think all of us would be very curious to hear about what those items are in the comments below. So let us know, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.